What's going on? Slip is here with match 3 of our Esper Brain Control League. So we're on the draw, and this hand is the worst. This hand is better, actually. It's not the most exciting thing ever, but when we have interaction and jar, we're doing pretty well. So that's good, and Urza's Power Plant is a bad sign. If we're playing a green Tron deck, this is not the hand we want for that, that's for sure. If we're playing Eldrazi Tron, we might be able to scrape something out. Opponent does nothing. We have no clue what they are yet. Well, we might get turn 3 Karned. I'm going to hold up Telling Time here because we want to hit a land. And our opponent Ghost Quarters Watery Grave, which I find interesting. And then plays Chalice on 1. So that's almost that's a good portion of our hand gone right there. And what are we gonna do about it? Wish we had Spell Pierce in hand, but we don't. Telling Time, we can't cast that push, so Peer in a land. This means we get to play Jar and Peer, which is good. I mean, it's better. I'm just gonna get a Hallowed Fountain here because we're going to need to be able to verdict at some point. Hopefully. Hopefully we make it that far. We're just going to tick up Jar. Walking Ballista. Great. Great. And there's a path. That's a useless draw. And what does our opponent play here? Thought Not Seer. Taking our Blessed Alliance probably. That's a Chalice on 2. So that's just wonderful. So in response, we're going to Peer. It's unfortunate our opponent didn't attack with Walking Ballista first, but I guess well played by them playing around Blessed Alliance. So we're going to Peer. We don't pick up a Beck, but we do pick up one card we can cast, which is, there aren't very many of those in our deck. So Logic Knot, it's a 2 CMC card in the hand, but Chalice doesn't see the converted mana cost printed on the card. It sees the converted mana cost as it goes on the stack. So that's good. Here we can't really do anything but tick up Jar to try to cast Verdict eventually. It's theoretically possible we could blow our opponent out at some point. And at least we have Logic Knot to do things. So he's going to tick this up. He's going to attack us again. Kind of rough here. And our opponent's doing nothing, so he's kind of all in on this Ballista at the moment. And I do this, so I fire off these 2 paths. This is not because I'm forgetting about Chalice. It's because our opponent is on the verge, if they hit a map or a mine, of having a lot of mana. And we're also about to tap one of our lands in play, right? So we kind of, and we might want to Ghost Quarter this Seagate Wreckage too at some point soon. So I kind of want to just dump stuff in the yard for not. Figure I might as well. We're not ever going to deal with this Chalice on 1. If we get to actually remove a Chalice at some point, it'll be the one on 2 probably. So we get to do that as he counters. We do puts a counter on it. We do that in response to take 1 less damage. Now hopefully our opponent plays something we can counter. Endbringer. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so we leave stuff in our graveyard here. We get to tap down. And now at least we have a Jar that we can tick way down. Unfortunately, we can't play our second Jar. And opponent plays a Reality Smasher, so that's not good. And we're going to tick Jar down. So we could tick it all the way to 0, and then that gives us an extra look for Beck, which we can then cast off of Srams. That would be okay. Or we're pretty far behind here. In fact, we're really far behind. So we could also take it down to 1, and then that means that if we hit Beck, we could hit Cryptic or Verdict, I guess, also to probably live. But if we hit Beck, then we get to draw extra cards off of Sram's Expertise, right, from those 3. I decide we're far enough behind that I wanna take a little bit of a gamble. Indeed, we do see Beck call. So I don't mind that. I'm going to bottom the other 2 for the moment. And we're going to cast it off of Jar, not Srams here. some lands. There's a Snapcaster we can't cast for the moment. And now we can't do anything else, right? We have a bunch of cards that are okay, but we can't use any of them, so we might as well play this to draw 3. 4 mana, draw 3, get 3 1/1s. That's okay. We draw another Beck, so what the hell? Our opponent Ghost Quartered a Hallowed Fountain here, so that's something. We drew another Beck though, so we're kind of like in a maybe we're gonna live mode, and that's a Reality Smasher. So. We can't take full damage from either of these, obviously, and that's going to be a problem. The thing is that our opponent probably plays some number of Dismember in their deck, right? So usually if we wanted to guarantee like not getting blown out by one of these smashers, we would block it with 6 tokens, and then we would block the other one with like 1 token so we didn't die, and then if he dismembered one, it would still live. However, because these have trample, if we block this with 1 and guarantee killing this, he just dismembers the 1 blocking and we take 5. So, see, we line it up the way he wants it and then take it back. So, he does in fact have a dismember, so he has 2 smashers on board. And we draw a Cryptic, so that's a really, really good draw for us. And it's not necessarily enough, but it's a really good draw. We're at 1, we can't crack this fetch, but we do have 3 blue sources, just barely. And I guess we have Ghost Quarter. So, you know, 30 cards into our deck. I guess we were bound to hit it sometime. So we're just going to tap these, and I like bouncing this Chalice that's on 2. So why do we bounce the Chalice on 2? Well, I figure if we, we can't draw a Verdict, we might draw another Cryptic or whatever. I feel like ticking Jar up is something that we could like try to do. We can't take it down because we can't fetch, but I just kind of want a Blessed Alliance to gain a little life. And then maybe somehow we can make it out of this situation. If we ever like have to chump, like if we draw Srams here, this Blessed Alliance is going to keep us alive. So our opponent plays Batterskull and doesn't play Chalice on 2. So this is huge. I just can't imagine why our opponent thought he should play Batterskull with 10 power on the board, but he did. And that is amazing. So in that light, I'm going to Blessed Alliance, and Batterskull is going to come down, and I'm going to take up Jar. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, we can snap Cryptic one more time before he plays that Chalice, and like maybe he'll mess up and play it mid-phase. No. We can just go ahead right here and snap Verdict. And now our opponent has to play this weird game where he's like bouncing the Batterskull token, right? We're leaving up a Ghost Quarter. No reason to do C8 Wreckage yet. So now we can just tap out and fuse Bet Call if he plays the Chalice. I mean the Batterskull again. But he doesn't. This is 3 to return to hand, right? 3 to return, 5 to play. So he could have not done that, actually. He doesn't play a land here, I believe. Yeah, no, he doesn't play a land. So he couldn't have done that. So he's going to return it and play it again. That means we're not under immediate threat of dying. There's a Snapcaster Mage, which is useless. We really want to dodge Walking Ballista and Reality Smasher for a moment. So, opponent Chalice is on 0, so I'm not sure. Maybe our opponent thinks we're running Ancestrals with Srams because like Michael Majors did it. That would be pretty crazy. Maybe he thinks that because we're it's like playing it without paying its cost, that's how Beck is getting around Chalice. But that's not how Beck is getting around Chalice, but maybe he thinks for some reason it's a 0 because it's skirting the 2 mana rule. That's possible. So we tick this down to 1, and we see more or less nothing that we want, except I decided to top this Ghost Quarter. He's going to Seagate Wreckage here. There's nothing we can do about it, but at least we can get rid of it and get rid of the mine if we want to. He doesn't do anything about it, so I guess here he's like What he plays, Seagate Wreckage, 1, 2, 3, and Seagate. And then he has 1, 2, 3. He can still return Batterskull, right? I'm not sure. So we're going to upkeep this bet call. We don't know if he's playing Warping Whale, which would be a blowout. We draw Esper Charm and Logic Knot. So these are good draws. If we draw a Cryptic, then we can actually get this Chalice Chalice for 2 off the board. And that's pretty sweet. As it stands, I see no reason to. I'm just going to Ghost Quarter this in case he draws Ulamog because we don't want him to cast it. But I see no reason to like Esper Charm him for 1 card rather than Logic Knot him. And we are absolutely going to take this take this trade here if he swings. We kind of get blown out, actually. You know, maybe that was a little risky. We can still tap out to bet call. But I would be happy to take that. If he had Dismember, you know, whatever. I guess we can Logic Knot it. But he plays Karn, and that's a quick counter. Again, fortunately, Logic Knot skirting Chalice. We draw another Esper Charm, so this is good. This is a good situation. So we could Esper Charm now, or we could wait for our opponent to return Batterskull. I decided I just want to Esper Charm him now, and we dodge a Matter Reshaper. I think this was the safest play. What we want to do is like not really have to do anything and be able to tap down and back again. Spell Snare, Utter Garbage. Telling Time. We might one day be able to cast that. So we're gonna bet call here. And we draw Cryptic. So we have options now. What I decide to do is Cryptic the Chalice that's on 2 and then Esper Charm on draw step. And he Ghost Quarters me. We are out of lands. Maybe he's getting a little frustrated. That is cute. He can't return Batterskull and replay it, so we dodge a Reality Smasher, which is fucking clutch. Returns Batterskull. Now we can actually draw step snap Esper Charm him, which is nutty. We should play a Brain in a Jar here, I think, but I don't. So swing for 4. Snap. I snap on upkeep because I guess it's good habit, right? Play around Surgical Extraction, like that your opponent draws off the top of your deck. If you snap on upkeep, they can't surgical you in response if they're drawing it. So we hit a Mind Stone and that Batterskull we knew about. This is great. Now we get to tick down Jar all the way because we need to find some action. There's an Esper Charm. I'm not complaining. We have 6 power on board. We would like to draw a Colonnade maybe. Are all our Colonnades in the yard? No, they're not. That's something to remember. I decided we should probably just Esper Charm our opponent here again. We want to just stall this as long as possible. See what we can do. We're going to Telling Time. Sure, take the Colonnade. We can't cast any of those. Sure, take the Bet Call. We can Bet Call next turn. And we only have to live 1 more turn. Our opponent taps. Looks like Endbringer. It's Walking Ballista for 3. So this be lethal. And we don't have any more snaps in the deck to flashback this Blessed Alliance. So we have 1 more Logic Knot in the deck. No more Cryptics. We have 1 Logic Knot. We just bottomed 2 cards because of Telling Time. And that helps. So we're about to draw 4. And then we get to see half of our remaining 8 cards. And if one of those in the top half of our 8-card deck is a Logic Knot, then we win. And our opponent scoops. Actually, that was really premature. I'm not sure why he would do that. He should have just forced us to have it. But that's okay. I'm happy to take it. I actually clicked through this in the game, and we would have gotten there. But even so, that was, you know, why. I can see why our opponent would be frustrated with this situation, but even so, like, might as well make us have it, right? All right, game 2. So that was exciting. That was exciting. What do we board here? So I like the Supreme Verdict, I like the Blessed Alliance, and I like the 2 Ruined Halos. I don't like the Spell Pierce and the Snares, even though the Snares hit Chalice for 1. Still not terribly interested. So I board out those 3 plus the 2 pushes for the Sroms, just to have extra stuff going on. The Sroms, the Verdict, and then the Ruined Halo Blessed Alliance business. This hand is pretty weak. I don't really like a Ruined Halo I can't cast into Telling Time. This hand is worse. This hand is better. As weird as it seems, I mean, this hand has more potential to dig us out of a situation, I think. Ruined Halo, we have to bottom. We can't even cast it. Peer Through Depths is a fantastic draw. Esper Charm is not so good. I mean, it could be, but not yet. It helps a lot that our opponent's missing land drops right now. We're also missing land drops. And now our opponent is going to have Tron next turn. So we really want to hit a land here. And we do, which is lucky. So I don't know if our opponent has followed certain people's logics of replacing the Warping Wills with Ballistas. So I didn't want to peer through depths. Like, I wanted to wait for him to tap out for something to peer for Beck. And now that he's tapped out, I think this is a moment where I'm just going to peer for Beck. I'm going to get a white source since we have a Verdict. And we find a Beck call. And we're going to fuse it. And those are cards. Those are definitely cards. We have another jar. Like, next turn we can either like play jar and hold up Logic Knot, or 1-mana Esper Charm. We can do all kinds of things here. All kinds of things. Hopefully this Blessed Alliance is good. Opponent plays Tron and then Pithing Needle on our Brandon Jar. And then plays Ratchet Bomb for our tokens. Everything's looking awesome. Then plays Thought Knot Seer. Is this a Thought Knot Seer or a Walking Ballista? Thought Knot Seer to take our Supreme Verdict. And all of a sudden, what was looking like a great situation has turned into an awful situation. Or at least, like, kind of shitty. Fortunately, we still have Logic Knots that are decent enough. So we're going to hold those up. And if our opponent, for whatever reason our opponent didn't set off Ratchet Bomb there, if our opponent wants to attack with Thought Knots here, we can Blessed Alliance it. This Walking Ballista, I guess we could have countered. It would have taken every card in our graveyard and might have let our opponent play something that was a little more immediately scary. Since there's no Chalice on 1 right now, we do have removal for that and no attacks. So I'm going to Esper Charm to draw 2 here. We're going to see what happens. We draw Cryptic and Path. Cryptic's not bad. We're going to Path this. He's not going to take the land. He's going to put a counter on it and hit us for an extra damage. That's good. We get an extra card in the yard. Cryptic is a fine draw here, and I don't think we're going to get 4 free damage in. Our opponent was so tilted by Esper Charm. No, but Esper Charm was really good game 1 that he decides to Surgical it here. We're happy that he has burned several cards in his hand on things like Ratchet Bomb and Needle and Surgical, although Needle is doing a lot of work here, keeping us from just like absolutely cracking this game open. It's still nice that he hasn't really done anything. So that's good. Surgicaling Esper Charm. He didn't take the 1 in my yard, but he did take the 2 from the deck. That's okay. We just hold up Logic Knot now and kind of bluff him out with Blessed Alliance, I guess. Opponent plays Reality Smasher. We're going to Logic Knot that one. And I'm going to do it this way so that we can still hold up Blessed Alliance. Plays Ratchet Bomb. Not really doing anything. Kind of want lands here. Another Blessed Alliance is fine, actually. Reality Smasher would be great if our opponent played it. But as it stands, they're not going to really do anything. But fortunately, they're also not going to pressure us. So I decide to bounce the Pithing Needle, which is a little weird. But I kind of want to draw a card, and I kind of want to do something. I'm not sure what our opponent's holding, really. But I think, like, getting a little jar action in is going to be good for the soul. So instead of Sramsing here, which would keep us from holding up Logic Knot, I'm just going to keep playing right now, and our opponent Ghost Quarters our Colonnade. And our opponent Ghost Quarters our Godless Shrine. That seems a little suspect to me. He saw our number of basic lands in the last game. I would have at least killed the Mystic Gate, maybe? I'm not sure. Over the Colonnade. Our opponent's Surgical's Cryptic, so now we're kind of getting blown out. So, fortunately for us, like, so we're not going to be able to counter Pithing Needle here, but fortunately for us, like, when you want to counter Surgical Extraction, the best way to do that is to Delve one, and and the spell just totally fizzles and can't be interacted with at all, so that's fantastic. And our opponent actually pays the 1. Plays Needle, so we're going to tick up Jar. We could have ticked down Jar, but we have a Srams in hand, so what we want to do is think about a good moment to, like, Cryptic bounce Needle and then play Srams. Path is a good draw. It's Blessed Alliance doing great work holding off this Thought-Knot Seer. Our opponent plays a Thought-Knot Seer. So that's kind of interesting. We have a couple of options. We can Cryptic bounce the Needle, or we can Cryptic counter the Thought-Knot Seer and path the one on the board to try to, like, open things up and draw 2 cards, and then we can untap and Srams into Beck. Rather than bounce the Needle, I decide I would rather just counter this and draw a card, and then path the Thought-Knot Seer here. So our opponent can't do anything this turn. We are out of counters, and our opponent has a Ratchet Bomb on the board. So the Srams into Beck isn't actually going to be that good, but it'll be better than nothing. We do get to draw a bunch of cards. The issue is also that we're at 4 minutes and 25 seconds, so we kind of need to make something happen. And if we're going to win with tokens, he's going to have to blow this Ratchet Bomb real soon. So we get some draws. I decide to hold up Logic Knot here instead of taking out a Tron land with Ghost Quarter. That's something we want to do. Matter Reshaper is annoying, but we can path it. We have a Snapcaster. That's really good. We're going to swing, and our opponent's going to Ratchet Bomb us. Our opponent Ghost Quarters something. Where did he Ghost Quarter? He Ghost Quartered? Oh, we Ghost Quartered, sorry. Yeah, we Ghost Quartered the mine after he passed his main phase. Probably should have done that on upkeep. Path this. We can snap Esper Charm our opponent too on end step. That's a possibility. Maybe we should do that. It's not the worst idea. I decided just Telling Time here. Don't really want that brain in a jar. We can snap Esper Charm again. I decide not to. Maybe that's a little passive. I'm kind of thinking like, okay, excuse me. If we want to win this game, we have to do something. So one way we can do something is by doing Snap Srams, right? Snap Srams is like bodies on the board. That seems pretty good. We could also Snap Cryptic the Needle, and then we get a bunch of Scries from Beck. So I decided to do that. I probably should have snapped Srams, but I also don't know if our opponent is playing ways to counter sorceries, because he's like not doing anything with the cards in his hand, right? And then we find out why. He's playing Dismember, or holding and Dismember. We still have this Logic Knot, so we can do things against his things. He's going to replay Needle, and we're going to tick all the way down to 0. We have 2 minutes and 23 seconds left at this point. And we see some cards that I skipped there, but it was Land Srams, I believe. And so we topped the Srams. Oh, no, I see we didn't take it down yet. I got confused because of this play thing. So here at Land Srams, we're going to top Srams. And now we're just going to tap out to play it. Our opponent's at 8 and has 1 card in hand. We don't have Logic Knot anymore, but we do have a Blessed Alliance in case they try to do something. Our opponent knows we have a Blessed Alliance in hand, actually, but does not do anything in particular. Plays a map, and we're going to swing for 3. There's a Verdict, which is really not helping us at this point. And now we're kind of like thinking, okay, so if our opponent plays a creature, we probably lose, right? Because we're going to get in for 2, and then 1, and then we lose. If our opponent plays, like, our best hope is that our opponent plays nothing, obviously. Our second best hope is that we're at 10 life, so our opponent decides it's a good idea to play Reality Smasher and attack us. And our opponent plays a Reality Smasher and decides it's a good idea to attack us with 1:34 left on our clock and no way to win if a Reality Smasher plays defensively. So, like, I appreciate our opponent not playing toward the clock if this was intentional. Like, I think, you know, the clock on Moto is, like, kind of bullshit in its own way. But we took a long time, you know, in game 1. It was a ridiculously complicated game to actually play through. So, you know, I can understand. There's got to be some punishment. But we allianced this. He even knew we had an alliance, actually. Maybe he's tired at this point, too. This was a really long game. We swing for 3. And our opponent scoops it up. So that was kind of a nutty win against Eldrazi Tron, but a pretty sick game 1 in its own right, I guess. But feeling good about that. This matchup has been going a little better for me lately. Maybe I'm kind of figuring the deck out a little bit in a way that I wasn't before, but I was having a lot of trouble with it for a while. But having played it a bunch recently, I kind of understand it a little better, and that helps. That helps. So that was a good game, good match, and I'll see you for number 4.